Hey, happy Saturday to you guys. Special bonus content here. KYG Y2K podcast, the Millennial Nostalgia podcast, most of the time. In this case, we're going to talk about how I don't know how's to internet well. My name is Jesse Dram. I am your typical host, podcaster, comedian. My co-host, Joe Garifo, is here, claymation extraordinaire. How you doing, Pally?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Doing good. He's got his new microphone. He looks good. He looks like a podcaster.
No, thank you.
Our special guest today is Emily. Emily, if you could just say hi to the audience at home.
Hi.
So, this is a special bonus episode. Emily is a young Twitter user. About why don't you tell me? Actually, you know what? You have a bigger story to tell. I'll tell you how I wander into this.
All right.
Today's episode is going to be about generational differences, a little bit about Twitter, and how
I would also just like to say I am completely and totally clueless to everything that's going on right now. So this is all new to me. So
the funny thing is I have an extra 24 hours experience in this entire situation than Joey. I'm not that much further ahead than you are in all of this.
Well, I mean, I literally have no idea what's going on. So I'm interested to see what happened. So go ahead.
All right, Joseph, let me tell you a tale. So about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time a few nights ago, I'm dicking around on Twitter. I don't use Twitter much. I typically use it for promotion. Again, doing comedy stuff, promoting shows, promoting podcasts. You just kind of have to be there. I have jokingly said that Twitter is a bad place for bad people after all the, dogpiling and cancellations, but I still go there and wander. And while I'm on there, I noticed there is a hashtag trending, M is innocent, hashtag EMIS innocent. And as happens with this, I try to okay, what's this about? Is this about Eminem? I don't know. And I look, and of course there are, just because all these things are confusing.
About who?
I thought it might have been about Eminem. It just said EM is innocent.
It did not sound like you said Eminem. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're going to interrupt me for every little thing here, Joey.
No, I was just go ahead. Continue. I apologize.
Okay. I see M is innocent. I can't figure out what it means. I look all over the place. And this is one of the most frustrating things about Twitter for me. Because, you'll see Gene Hackman is trending. And then you go and see, why is Gene Hackman trending? And it's a bunch of equally confused people. Hashtag, why is Gene Hackman trending? And it is so hard to get any fucking information out of Twitter. So I write an angry tweet at 2 a.m. Always, every great story starts this way. Hashtag M is innocent. This is why Twitter sucks. And I'm a blah, blah, blah. People made note. I unfortunately said, this reminds me of the white kids who wanted to be black in middle school, which just growing up, those were the villains of my youth. Those kids were just assholes. Who, I don't know if this is Joey, tell me, did this happen at your school? We'd be in the cafeteria and all of a sudden you'd hear a bunch of people go, oh, and you'd think a fight is breaking out. And it's just a bunch of idiots just yelling. So everyone will look.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what this felt like on Twitter. Okay. About 12 hours later, I notice a lot of very angry people yelling at me on Twitter. And by the way, it's all fair. It's Twitter. Nobody's there to have a reasonable discussion. We're there to get fired up and yell at each other. And I see a bunch of kids coming at me, almost all of them with My Chemical Romance or Fall Out Boy avatars. And I guess this is where the story picks up for you, Em. So what does this look like? How about you actually give us the background story? What is M is innocent? Because from the little bit I've gathered, it seemed to be a little thing in your particular online community, and then it just ran away. And I'm one of the fucking brills that just got caught up in the wind on this one.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I don't condone anything that I did up to this moment because
every good story starts this way. Continue.
Yeah, so I was actually out with friends at a shopping mall and I felt really bad because they really wanted to get some makeup for themselves. And I was just you know what, I do have some money, but if I cannot like fathom spending $80 on 4 items of makeup, and I like don't think they're going to do anything too serious to a 16-year-old. If I get caught, the consequences can't be too bad. And obviously that was a really bad misjudgment, but obviously teenagers make a lot of mistakes. Kids are stupid. So I decided to do it. My friends did kind of like help out a little. And obviously this was like, a lot of people are known for doing this. I don't know why it's been like normalized, but a lot of people do shoplift at this age. So obviously we were like, well, I mean, I can't be too serious, you know, but obviously that was a form of misjudgment. So I do end up doing that. I get caught, and then I take into the back rooms, and I actually did end up getting arrested. And a lot of people are saying that it's stupid that Emma's innocent is trending, but I think the irony of the joke was the fact that I was in fact guilty, not innocent, and that probably is why it trended. But it kind of got out of hand, and it got skewed outside of like my friend group, and then the whole like subgenre of Twitter that was a lot of MCR fans started amping it up and found it funny. And I actually did get a couple complaints saying that trending it might be encouraging or like appeasing to shoplifters, which honestly, if you listen to me, I did say I do not condone this. And I did explain that the experience was a little bit traumatic because I mean, a 16-year-old alone taking the blame for like 2 other people and like trying to clear the names, having to go to court, getting arrested, thrown in a cop car, mugshots, all that stuff. It's not fun when you're doing it alone and you're terrified for your life. So I did explain that, you know, I don't think anyone would ever follow that, considering that I did clear up that it was not a good thing. Obviously, my morals were like skewed at the time. I learned from it. Obviously, I think that's enough to teach a kid a lesson, and I think that's kind of why it got trending, because people tried to make light out of the situation and it got a little bit out of hand. I was not expecting it to trend at all. In fact, my phone was blowing up and I got 7,000 notifications.
Wow.
And I didn't create any of the hashtags or anything. That was just my friends. And I came back and I was just like kind of overwhelmed by it because I'm a kid, right? But I was not expecting that.
Wow. So teenage shoplifting, you know, them teenagers, they could care less unless someone will bleed. So where all right, so first off, you know what? Joey hates when I just make these declarative statements. I'm going to say it right here, right now. KYG Y2K. We are a pro teenage shoplifting podcast now. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Also, before anyone gets mad, I think I should clarify that this specific store is a multi-million-dollar chain and they do not decrease their workers' wages at all. And they're actually kind of picky and choosy because they tend to target towards teenagers. I've seen adults shoplift, no consequences. In fact, if the beeper goes off, they don't look. I think they were just targeting kids probably because it's easy. And I don't mean that in like a demeaning or malicious way. I'm sure the guy just wanted to like, you know, teach me a lesson, which in fact he did, and I appreciate it, but
nah, it's capitalism's fault for making you want the product so much. That's the way I now say. All right, might be burying the lead here. Myself and Joey, we seem to be a good deal older than you. In fact, when I told Joey we had a 16-year-old girl coming on the podcast, he just said, like, for the love of God, don't do anything fucking creepy. And I said I won't. But I was actually quite the teen shoplifter myself. It's a lot. Look,
really?
Oh yeah, dude.
This is like totally juxtaposed. I've never shoplifted in my life, so I think it's just fun.
Joey is such a sweet, nice boy. I still don't know how we're friends. No, I got a real kick out of shoplifting as a teenager. I made it a sport, stealing like present, much like you actually. I stealing presents from my friends, stealing CDs and stuff. Back in the day, we had these things called CDs. I'm not gonna get into that shit. So. Okay. So what is the again, the connection to MCR still baffles me a little bit. Is this just like a big online? I don't even, all right, this is going to sound dumb. I understand how Twitter works, but I don't understand how Twitter works in that I have never really been able to navigate it to even like make connections with people. So how do you even find all these MCR people? Is it really just as simple as like you put up your Mikey Way avatar and everyone's like, we're friends forever now, and before you know it, there's 100,000 of you?
I think it's more so on how the algorithm works, because sometimes people could like try to make friends and it won't work. But I think mainly it's just like an online community where it's like a subgenre of Twitter where people have mutual interests. And if you start making tweets and people happen to find you funny or interesting, they will probably flock around you. And then from that, probably make group chats. And in my case, I feel like a lot of people just like started trying to talk to me. And then I started doing like Twitter spaces just to talk to people. People found me entertaining. I found people listening to me for like 7 hours at a time, which is really weird because I didn't expect anyone to be sitting there listening to a stupid teenager talk and just like make jokes for zero reason. So I feel like people just like engage a lot, and based on the algorithm, like what time you post, maybe, I don't know why that affects it, but sometimes people using hashtags or just like, if you can search for keywords. So if someone happened to put MCR in their tweet, I bet like a lot of MCR fans would start flocking towards it, maybe interacting with them. I think it just depends on the time and the people who are interacting, because sometimes someone will just like literally DM you like, hey, do you want to talk? And then from there you could be put into group chats, have like Twitter mutuals, and it just kind of gets blown out of proportion.
I gotcha. So I guess the issue is I am not funny or entertaining, and that is why things aren't working out for us. I think just as somebody, I'm a fan of a lot of things. I can't say I'm a fanatic about too many things. So particularly like promoting this podcast where we talk about like we did an episode on Half Baked, the movie Half Baked that's coming out later out this week. It's very tricky to be like somebody as an outsider to the group, to literally like poke our heads in like, hey, we made this little thing you might like, and then we're just gone forever again. So things don't really take off. Wow. So yeah, people were really excited about all this happening. What did you think of the response you got from your community? And then when some dipshit like me poked his head in, and then this became a whole other thing, and we decided to get you on the podcast.
I'm gonna be honest, I think I went IA for an hour because like I went inactive because I was getting ready for court, obviously, because I had court that day. I was just like trying to figure out like, am I gonna be punished? Am I literally going to jail? A lot of the joke was, is M going to go to jail? So everyone put jail bars over their profile pictures, and people had M's defender, M's lawyer, and it was like a big thing. And I was just like, well, guys, if I go to jail, I'm breaking out before the MCR show. Let it be known. That kind of stuff. So it just turned into this big joke. And obviously it was very unlikely that I was going to go to jail, but obviously there's still like a small chance because people here where I live are pretty crazy. And the legal age where I am is 17, and I was 5 months away from that. So they could have rounded up maybe. I know they don't typically do that, but if someone's pissed enough and you land the wrong judge, something will go wrong.
Yeah.
But I literally saw I was trending and my heart dropped. I'm like, well, I know it's not for a bad thing because it's a joke, but like I tend to have pretty bad social anxiety, and I have throughout my whole life. So when I saw my name, I was just like, do you know how many people have to tweet about you for you to go trending and having your own hashtag? I think there was 2 hashtags that got trending. And then people are spamming my DMs. I got 7,000 notifications. I checked my the amount of interactions and impressions. I got 442.3K.
Jesus.
Just off like some stupid jokes. And it wasn't even a negative way. And personally, I did not take offense to what you said. I actually kind of found it funny, and I got it sent to me before I even got to see it. And I was just like, that's kind of funny. And everyone was like, oh my God, ratio, like trying to like,
yeah.
I think people weren't offended by it. I think they just found it funny that someone was so confused.
Yeah,
so they kind of amped it up.
Yeah, I saw it, I guess, this morning, and I was like, "There's just all losers." I'm like, "Why, man?" I was about to. Oh.
I want to clarify. I sent no one after you. That was all in their own intention.
No.
By the way, Jesse is the one that tweets from that. That is not me. So,
yeah, we need a separate one.
If I saw something like that and I was confused by it, I would just keep scrolling. It wouldn't affect me the way it apparently affected Jesse. So
yeah, I don't react well with my surroundings. I see something I don't understand, and I just like and that's what happened here. But it's okay. See, you mentioned having social anxiety. I have social anxiety as well. Thankfully, that doesn't really apply to the internet, where like these people could have said anything they wanted about me, because I do comedy. Even though a lot of people said, well, you're not funny, you should stop, which is a little mean. But just the people my best friends have said such horrible things about me that a stranger on the internet can't. It sounds like I'm laying down a challenge. Stranger on the internet can't make me sad. Hashtag come at me.
What are you doing, man?
I know.
I understand the social anxiety part, because the difference between online and real life is that you have no real perception of how many people are actually listening to you. But the thing is, what did it for me is when I made a Twitter space coming back from court, and I'm like, guys, I didn't go to jail. And I started seeing the amount of profile pictures, because if you imagine that many people in a room and imagine yourself talking and they're all trying to listen to what you have to say, that's when it gets terrifying. because personally, I had this thing when I was a young age. I kind of shifted it. So when I was younger, I would stay silent out of fear, in hopes that people would like me because I was like afraid of people. And then a couple of years ago, I started having this shift where it's like more of I put up an entertainment persona to try to be funny and just like see if I can get people that way. And it's been working a little too well considering I go on the trending page and people are actually interested in what I have to say, which is again a scary shift because I could say practically anything and I know people are listening to me right now. So it's kind of weird, but it's a different shift compared to in real life on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tricky courting any kind of attention because you never know. I mean, positive attention can turn negative on a dime. You mentioned getting all those. Sorry, Joe, if you give me one sec. You mentioned getting all those notifications. I've only had one semi-viral thing that happened with me. During the COVID lockdowns, there was a gym in my hometown that was like making a big deal of like, we're going to stay open, fuck the government, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out that the guy who was running this had it basically killed a kid drunk driving 4 years before. So this whole thing like, oh, this guy who, I care about your health. And like, well, you didn't care about this kid you ran over. So I made a meme to get the word out there, went semi-viral, and it was good for most of the day. And then it got too viral. And then by the end of the day, I had people on the other side of the country sending me death threats as some liberal snowflakes. It's like, okay, I think I did my job here. But yeah, when you start getting like the notification tidal wave, it's fucking, even if it's a good thing, just because you never know which way it's going to turn.
I was going to say I could somewhat relate too, because I've never had that attention on Twitter before. I've been on it since the app came out. But like on TikTok, I don't know what happened. One day I posted one video and then I woke up the next day and I have like 16,000 followers now. But like, it's really bizarre to me that like now I really have to watch everything I say, because most of the time it's just people that already knew who I was and they knew how I am and what I mean by certain things. And I don't mean like, I mean, I have to be very specific because no one knows what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like, oh, I have to give a whole backstory now about everything on every video because you never know who's seeing it on the news. You know what I mean? It's just like, it can be exhausting telling the same story over and over and over again. It's like, how did you meet Kevin Smith? I don't know how many times I've told that story. I guess for the new people listening, if you want to know, my wife bought me meet and greet tickets in 2019. I told him I made claymation videos and he hired me on the spot to do stuff for him. That's the long story short. That's what happened.
Yeah, and I saw you had posted something about Joey's connection to Kevin Smith, and that was where a lot of people were like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, no, that was a joke. Now people are. I saw people making like a copy trend of. I think it was started in the group chat. It says, "I have a friend who has a friend who knows a friend of Gerard Way."
Oh, because he knows Joe
He's been
Rogan.
on the podcast.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's his cousin.
Oh yeah, that Joe Rogan cousin thing. So all right, so Em, what are you looking at like punitively of this? Is everything settled now, or what's happening in the process?
I'm still getting a lot of followers and notifications, but it's not really bothering me as much. I think that it was the initial height of it that just scared me, but now I just find it funny. I always did find it funny. In fact, I mean, part of the reason why it did go trending is because I enabled the jokes and I played along with it. So it's kind of my fault. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just a little funny.
But I meant like your legal situation. What's
I'm good. It's just
you don't need to get into detail of anything you don't feel comfortable with.
No, it's okay. It's just like I have to take like a 3-hour class and then just pay a fine and I'm good. No record and I'm good.
Awesome. Perfect. The perfect crime. It won't follow you anywhere. All right. I guess to wrap this up, I mentioned before, this is very much out of the ordinary for our typical format. Typically, we would talk about millennial nostalgia. Truth is, this podcast has been all over this place. This actually started as a book podcast, and then I finished the book, and I had nowhere else to go. But so we're doing millennial nostalgia right now. And again, I'm a little, I can't say baffled. Interested would be the word. Again, so all you guys seem to be very big MCR fans. I saw a lot of Fall Out Boy. I decided to be a cheeky little shit. Again, this is one of the things that confuses me about Twitter is like people were like burning me and then like putting a picture of Pete Wentz, and I'm like, what message is being conveyed here? Like, yeah, fuck you, loser, and Patrick Stump. Like, what? But yeah, I'm curious. I guess you guys would be considered Generation Z, the Zoomers, and me and Joey are firmly in the millennial camp. What is it that even got you guys into MCR? Considering obviously they're reuniting now, they released some new material, but they've been in the background for so long. How do you guys even get into this in the first place?
So I think for a lot of people, it was mainly, some people have older siblings and stuff like that that might have showed it to them. I personally was an only child. I grew up alone, and like obviously my parents were like immigrants, so I never had like that kind of exposure to anything like American music or anything. So I think it was just mainly like going to school and just you're not interested in what everyone else is interested in. So then you go online, and obviously we grew up with the internet from a young age. So you'll see stuff on social media and just like, oh, maybe this is interesting. And you see something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, and then you'll go down that path. So like maybe you watch like a content creator or something, and then they expose you to something like that. Like for me, I would just like go through things that I would see fan art of things that I didn't understand. So I would go Google it, find out about something, and become a fan of something. So for me, it was just like when I was like 9 years old, which is pretty young, but I remember hearing Teenagers, and I was just like, this is a good song, I'm adding it to my playlist. And then had no recollection of who it was singing it. Then years later, I come to find out that it was someone I currently enjoy. And I was like, oh, that makes that makes a lot of sense, because I found it earlier, but then rediscovered it because I happened to click a link or check something out, which is a lot of the time how people find out about things.
Mm-hmm. See, I think the difference is because again, I grew up listening to music from the past. I didn't really like a lot of the music when I was in high school from like 01 to 05, and I was listening to like, you know, Metallica albums from the 80s, but I think the difference is while we
how were you from 01 to 05 when you're a month older than me and I graduated in 04?
Joey, we've talked about this before. You lived in Philadelphia. I lived in New Jersey. The cutoff was a little different. You graduated a whole year ahead of me. It's not because I got left back. Jersey just
I wasn't implying that. I was just
I'm always on the defense.
Like, you're older than me. How did I graduate before you? Because I'm not, you know. Okay, continue.
No, it's okay. It was very relevant to the conversation. I'm glad we stopped there.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No, I would say the difference between again the media stuff now and then is that while we could find older stuff, it felt like new communities weren't going to come about in our teen years for stuff from the past. I think that's a big thing that the internet has changed. Also, you guys just have access to so much more. If we were to find something old from the past, it would either need to make its way to us via some major like the radio, an old song on the radio, or me and Joey have been talking about the video rental store because we're fucking dinosaurs. But that's where you would find like a lot of old movies. And while you could find that older media out there, you weren't really going to get a community out of it, which is
I disagree, because conventions were around and that's where people would go. I didn't go to my first convention until 05. So but like people would, I mean, they started in the 90s, and people, that's where a lot of once again, we didn't really know about it, but like people would find their people there's conventions for literally everything.
Right.
Like
this seemed more like it was happening on the outskirts. And what other stuff is there any other stuff from that time period that really kind of speaks to you and your community in general?
I think this, so basically there's just kind of this thing where there's a lot of people who have one interest and then they'll branch out into a whole community. So like My Chemical Romance fans tend to flock towards the same interests. So then you'll find out that like a lot of people like Fall Out Boy, like you mentioned. And then there's just like this whole like subsection of things that people tend to enjoy. And then from that, a lot of people even branch out further. Like I personally like got into stuff like The Cure and like old gothic music, like
hell yeah,
from the 80s, and it was really nice. Like Susie and the Banshees, that kind of stuff. Like it was fun to just get into that. And a lot of people just kind of tend to gate towards the same things when they see they're represented or that they're like not hated. like personally, it's like nice to see that I'm not going to be crucified for liking something.
Mhm.
So like if you happen to be somewhat different or not towards the societal norm, that it's all right because there's other things that can represent you, like music or something like that. Like a lot of people tend to flock towards those kinds of things. There's just like really small communities of people. Well, not necessarily small. It depends on the scale of it, but um, the My Chemical Romance fandom is pretty much on Twitter tends to be like a pretty large community.
Mm.
But it's just a bunch of people making jokes on similar interests and relating to it, I guess.
I gotcha. Yeah, some communities are just more open than the others. I was a big metalhead when I was a teenager. Not as the whole Stranger Things, Master of Puppets thing has shown in the last few months. Not exactly an open community. There's a bunch of like old men my age who, as if they were listening to Master of Puppets when it came out. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, I got pissed at that too, and I'm not even an old man, nor am I like very into Metallica. I was just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. Like I want to hear
oh,
about Stranger Things.
well, see, all right, that gets into the next thing I was going to ask is, again, being millennial nostalgia, what are you guys really loving as far as like your age group right now? I want to know what's going to be the thing. You're never quite sure what's going to stand the test of time, because like while people still listen to while people still listen to like say Taking Back Sunday or whatever,
Yeah.
back in the day when those albums are coming out, you're not sure which one of those people are going to get remembered forever and which ones are going to be like, left in the dust. Obviously, MCR, Black Parade, Three Cheers, that whole thing has stood the test of time and is just continuing to go forward. What's coming out right now that you and your friends are liking that you really think is going to stand the test of time?
I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like the older bands, if they keep like coming out with stuff, it'll probably stand the test of time because it like was revolutionary for a period of time. And like if they keep putting out new stuff, like if My Chem does end up putting something out, that's obviously gonna be like it's gonna stand the test of time because like they're already known. But currently, like anything new, I haven't seen much because I'm not really into it that into like the newer stuff, which sounds really stupid, but like um personally the stuff on the radio, while it is like those people obviously have talent, but um and they're obviously going to be known always, but I don't know if it'll be like classified as something that like you'll look back on and be like, oh my god, this was so amazing, I could never forget this. Like this influenced my teen years so much and it helped me grow up. Like while people like Olivia Rodrigo and Harry Styles are obviously very talented, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be like put in any like hall of fames. They're probably just gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that one person who had that one hit song on the radio a couple of years ago. They seemed cool.
Mm-hmm. See, that's when you reach our age, then you get a little older. It's you really don't understand the younger generation as much. Again, having doing comedy, I have had the benefit that like I'm around a lot of younger people. I have a show happening later today. One of the comedians on it, Romy Rosner, 19 years old. She's fucking hilarious. So I still have a little bit of connection as far as that goes. But like from our you know what? Before I give my answer, Joey, what is your perspective of like Gen Z? If you hear like somebody's 15 to 20 years old right now, what do you picture?
I'm scared of this.
Oh, no. Dude, I really don't think it's that much different. The only difference is everybody has phones now. That's literally the only to me. I like.
Yeah. Well, all right. Obviously, all right. If you go,
I'm really not. I don't think it's that as different as you're
no.
saying.
I'm not going so much as what it actually is. I'm going more by the perception, like the way everything gets riled up. If you were to watch Fox News, which is obviously fucking horrible, they would look at Gen Z and it's like, they have gender parties where they all swap around and listen to mumble rap, and it's like, again, that perception, as wrong as it is, I'm still interested in like again how everybody's perceiving each other.
I mean, I don't perceive it that way at all. I think of it as like I really don't know. I really haven't thought about it because it doesn't like bother me. Like every apparently it you know what I mean? Like I was just like whenever
bother me, I'm a curious person.
I usually get along. We usually find some kind of common ground to talk about. Like when I was an extra in a show. I don't think I could say it till it comes out. But I was talking with this kid who was an extra on Stranger Things. We were talking about I think he was like 18 or 19. And we were talking about music, and he loves Blink-182, like loves them. And then we got into Fall Out Boy, and he did not know that Fall Out Boy is named after a Simpsons character, but like, I wasn't like, you didn't know that? Like, I was like, yeah, I like informing people and not being like, I'm not the type. I like teaching people things. I don't like being a gatekeeper or anything like that. And like, if they didn't know it, awesome. If they did know it, cool.
Yeah. Did you know Fall Out Boy was named after a Simpsons character?
I in fact did not, because I'm probably gonna get killed by my own community for this, but I'm not very into Fall Out Boy. Like, I like a couple of their songs, but I'm not like full-fledged into them.
Okay. So Joey, what were you saying?
Bring up a picture of Fall Out Boy.
Oh God.
On The Simpsons, there was a character named Radioactive Man, kind of like a Batman type character, and he had a sidekick named Fall Out Boy, and that's where they got the name from.
If I recall correctly, I believe it was
someone yelled it out at a show.
Yeah, somebody yelled out at a show, like, what should our band name be? And somebody said Fall Out Boy. And that's a pretty, I don't know, I'm glad I lived long enough to see a Simpsons reference. There's not enough Simpsons references becoming band names.
Yes. The songs, though, the Wonder Years, they have Local Man Ruins Everything, and that was a headline in the Simpsons episode. That's
Yep. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think we basically hit on everything we wanted to discuss here. Em, can you think of anything we might have missed? Anything interesting?
I don't know. I kind of want to come on the gender party thing, because that's really funny to me. Because I like how adults kind of view it as we're pushing the gender norms, even though that was already happening a long time ago. It was just very much shut out by media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really weird that adults are kind of viewing it as like, this generation is so strange, they're pushing this, like, as if they don't the music they listen to. Like, if you look at Freddie Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
they were obsessed with him while he was literally a gay man who was pushing all these norms, and that was okay.
Oh,
When
yeah.
the younger generation is pushing that same agenda,
Prince.
it's not okay anymore. Which honestly, I don't blame them, because it's hard to understand sometimes when you've never like experienced it firsthand. And I don't blame adults, because they grew up in a different generation, and obviously they don't have the same exposure as we do, and I can't just like expect everyone to understand everything. You know, it's like their own perspective. And again, it's like they might just like not get why that was a thing. They probably just thought it was maybe performative or for entertainment, or just might not like see the connotation between those things. But I just think it's kind of funny that that's kind of become a label for Gen Z.
Yeah, people can be very ignorant about their own past. Like, you know, like, oh, what's this they them? I don't understand it. I'm gonna go listen to a real man like David Bowie, who's gonna.
Yeah, that's really. I find it really funny to hear that kind of stuff, because it's just like you are listening to the exact same thing you oppose.
Thank you. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's just fun getting angry. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna wrap it up.
No, it isn't. I don't know why you get like. It isn't fun for me to be angry all the time. So maybe.
People, I don't know. People.
I mean, to be fair, anger is passion, and it all comes out of the same thing. It's just like, if you're passionate about something, you'll love it or hate it. There's no like necessary. It's like not necessarily, the hatred comes from like a source. Anger isn't necessarily always terrible, because it'll like in the end it'll result in something good. Because if enough people are angry about something, they could make a change, or they could literally just like, I don't know, they could do it the way they are on the internet, which is like getting pissed at people for no reason, but they also could make a monumental change, which I think is really cool. So anger isn't always necessarily, anger and ignorance sometimes are helpful.
I know, I do agree with you. I'm just speaking specifically about Jesse. He's angry about everything all the time.
I'm not. I get worked up.
He has been a lot better.
To be fair, to his advantage, it did make a lot of teenagers laugh, and it did.
Well, that's good.
So I don't think it's necessarily
at least, because
bad.
I was like worried for a second. I was like, "Oh my god, what did you do?"
No, I get look. I get worked up, but it's never like a genuine anger thing.
All that this morning, like I was. What is this?
All right, we're gonna wrap up on that. And I think you're very eloquent. I think you should start a podcast, because this has been a very fun conversation. Before we go, do you have anything you want to promote? Anybody you want to shout out?
All right. I'm just gonna shout out all of the group chats I'm in. I'm not even gonna name them. I'm just gonna say hi to everyone who accidentally got me trending. Thank you. It was a little bit of a panic attack, but it was positive, and I appreciate it. You know, thank you for making me laugh at that instead of crying, because it's not good to, you know, live with the guilt for the rest of your life. It's better to laugh at it and learn from that rather than just, you know, I guess be sad about it.
Absolutely. Joey, you got anything to promote?
Pretty soon, I don't know the date yet, but my all of my claymation shorts will be available on the Troma Now streaming app. Yeah, which is crazy to me, but I'll let you know when exactly. Probably within the next month, I would say.
Gotcha. All right, everybody, if you're anywhere near Philadelphia, next Friday on the 12th, I will be at the 700 Club in Northern Liberties in Philadelphia. Come watch me do comedy. Unless you told me I should quit comedy as a result of all this, which that was that was good advice, but a very mean thing to say. So, all right, we're just gonna end this now. Thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you.
Emily.